All right, so today we're talking about tomatoes, and I can tell you one thing: there is nothing better in the summertime than coming inside, toasting a little bit of bread, throwing some mayo on it, and slicing up a ripe tomato. I only get this a couple of months down here in Virginia each year, and I'm going to take full advantage of it. We're going to plant a lot of tomato plants this summer. And as I said, they have done really well on these grow lights, and they've grown way too big. But got to get them transplanted, got to get them in the garden the next few weeks. But I'm going to show you about my transplanting process and how we do it here at Simply Sprouts. Let's get to it. Okay, so what I use, and I know you can make your own, I just don't have the time, but what I use to these transplants is probably what I think is the softest soil that I can find, which is this Jiffy seed starting mix. You can get it at Lowe's or Home Depot. Sometimes they run out of it, so you always check the inventory online before you go. But I use this, and I use about 50% of this, okay? And then I mix it up in here, and I mix it, you know, in this nice white bin I've got that I've used for years for mixing. I mix it up in here with about 25% perlite and 25% vermiculite. The first thing I put in is the seed starting soil into the bin. Then I put the perlite, then I put the vermiculite. And we're also using something new this year that I've not tried before, but everybody has really come out of the woodworks and endorsed it. And it's something you can get online. It's called Trifecta. It's done by migardener.com. He has a great Facebook site as well. He's got some tremendous videos on there. But we're going to give this a shot. I've mixed some of this in here as well. And so anyway, you got to mix it all up. And what I do is I put a lot of water in here too. And so I want to get all this soil wet. And the reason why I want to get it wet is because it'd be uniform once we put it into the pots. If you put it in dry and then try to water it after that, it just doesn't work as well. I mean, your plants will survive and all, but you want every root to be able to reach out and get some moisture really quickly. So that's how I do it, and get it all mixed up, and we'll get started here in a moment. All right, so here's my poor pitiful tomato plant here. It's way too long to be in this poor little solo cup. But like I said, I just have not had the time. But what I've done already is I have trimmed off any branches that have come out of here all the way down. So still got plenty of branches on it. But take a look at this, if I can just zoom in. See the little hairs here? And those are roots. I mean, if you can get this part underground, I mean, let's face it, the tomato plant is a vine. And we stake them up and everything, but they probably in the wild grew along the ground mostly. And they would go out and reach down and grab hold of more dirt and more resources. So the further you can plant these things, the better, because they can survive the drought, they can pull in more nutrients, and then make your tomatoes even more yummy. So anyway, I've just had them in here. The roots have grown out of the bottom into the bottom of the tray, and I've just been feeding them with this Algo Plus, which is a great liquid. You just mix it with water, and I've been using that. Over here, I've got six of my plastic little buckets here, And these, I mean, you can get these at Lowe's or Home Depot. What they are is they're paint mixing buckets. So you go to the paint department, and I use a 2.5 quarts. I drill holes in the bottom for drainage. Usually try to do 5 or 6 holes. And you'll probably notice what this is in. If you've ever been to a restaurant, you've seen this before. But this is, you know, a busboy. That's what the busboys use, and you can get these online as well. And they're just, these six of these fit perfectly in here. So what I've done so far is I've put a little bit of dirt in the bottom, like that. And I'm gonna just go ahead and add my plant in. And so I add the plant in and be back in a moment. All right, so now take a look at this. I got, what I use here is these little bamboo posts that I get from Big Lots. And they're a little too tall, so I always have to cut a little bit off the top so the pole will actually fit under my grow light. However, this thing has gotten to be so big, I'm gonna have to raise my grow lights for this one, probably in the next day or two. But I got those, I got these little plastic clips on here. And of course, you always put the post in before you put the rest of your dirt in, so you don't hit the main vein down there on the tomato plant. But I've got it wound around here as well, pretty much as well as I can. This one's a little bit tough. A lot of the tomato plants that I've been working with so far, they've been pretty pliant, so they've been good for this to really wrap around in here and get as much of this this plant underground as possible. But there you go, this one's in, and I'll put some dirt on and we'll get the rest done here. Hey guys, 2 other things I wanted to point out here, because I know somebody would probably ask, is how do you get the limbs off of the plant? If you pull them or whatever, I always try to cut them. I try to cut them as close to the vine, to the main vine as possible, and that way you're not scarring anything. If you start pulling on them, a lot of times you'll make a bruise or something, and they just won't do well. Also, these clips, I got these online from Amazon. They're called plant support clips. They come in packs of 100, and they are reusable. One thing I will tell you though is, do not let them drop on the floor and step on them with bare feet, because they're almost as painful as stepping on a Lego. So anyway, well, I'm gonna keep on going here. All right, so there you have it. 6 under the grow light here, ready to go, ready to grow some more. I got them nice and watered. I'm gonna put some water down in the base as well, just in case they need a little extra here. If it was still raining outside, I'd be apt to go ahead and just put them outside for a little bit, since rainwater has perfect pH, but it actually has now stopped raining, so we had to use the indoor water. But that's all done. I wanted to go over here and show you something, because here's what's left over. You know, I do these 15 to a tray here, and here's the ones that are left. Somebody's like, well, you gonna throw those away? No, I'm gonna water them, put them back under the grow light, and invariably, one of these that I've already put in the bigger ones, something's gonna happen. It didn't like the transplant, or it just doesn't grow. And so these guys are basically backup now. I've got, you know, I've got 3 more slats here, the same, all different varieties that I've got to put into the grow lights as well. But these serve as backup, and you know, I give them to friends or sell them to people. Actually, some of the big ones I wind up selling to people too, but and I keep the backups. But you know, a lot of these will surprise you. They now have extra room. They're still in these little pots, but that's okay. They're getting root bound, but they'll be okay for a little while longer. And if they start, some of them start looking really good, I'll transplant those as well. So always keep these. So I'm gonna give these guys some water, put them back under the lights, and I got a lot more to do. Okay, so it's a few days later over here at the grow room, and I just wanted to show you guys how these plants are looking. I mean, these plants are looking great. Not a single one of them has shown any sign of transplant shock or anything. And in fact, a couple of these over here, I'm gonna have to move these tomorrow. They've grown and they're gonna touch the light, so I've got to move them to another shelf where I've got a taller light. But this is pretty impressive. So I want to show this to you guys. And this is John at Simply Sprouts signing off. Just remember, make better bliss every day. God bless.